Hey guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day, and above all else, that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Today, ladies and gentlemen, the gang are back with part two of Now Hear This. The word is alternative. Now, in part one, uh, Jim and his son John Michael gave us a list of eight alternative pop alternative pop, alternative rock, alternative indie rock albums to listen to. It's quite the list. And part two, we're going to go through the other four. We've split this um, episode up into two segments. One, to make it easier for you to sonically digest and get through and listen to. And the other reason is Jim is older than us and he needs more time to go through the list. I was gonna
Yes, you
get
young
you.
whippersnapper.
There you go.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I've always been told to listen to my elders and give them proper respect. So, okay. Yeah.
Keep it going, Venditti. Keep it going.
No problem, Bricker. I can do it. I can do it. I can keep it up. All right. Okay. Now, in part two, we're going to look at these other four albums. Sorry. The script has gone out the window, ladies and gentlemen. We've got four more albums to go through, and
We do.
Jim is gonna take the lead on this. Take it away, Jim.
Yep. So this is for those of you who want to check out part one, and we hope you do. This is the continuation of this bell curve that we're on of going from albums that are accessible to really, really challenging back down to accessible. These are all 2025 albums that have come out uh, in 2025. And these are records that have sort of captured the attention of the that little slant of a vertical audience of indie music hipsters, of which my son probably belongs to. And he shared these albums with me on a road trip, and I'm like, dude, there's some really good stuff here. And we're gonna go um, right into it with the fifth album that he introduced me to. This is the apex of the bell curve. This is the one that is the most, I will say, challenging, but it's not inaccessible. It's just you have to sort of be ready for it. The album is called Vanisher Horizon Scraper, and it's by a gentleman named Benjamin Lasky, who goes by the stage name of Quadeca. Am I saying that right?
You are indeed.
Right enough. Okay. As in our previous episodes, this is not something that you can pigeonhole into a single genre. I count seven different categories that Album of the Year puts this as: art pop, folktronica, neo psychedelia, folk pop, experimental hip hop, chamber folk, and baroque pop. And again, yes, all those seven boxes check off entirely. Um,
Okay.
now, the album is it's a concept album, if you will, and it's about someone going on a sea voyage, and things do not go well for our hero on this sea voyage as he's dealing with the stuff of life that he left behind on the land and as he's alone out in the water. Um, it's way too easy to call this the ninth wave of the 21st century, but there it is. I put it out there. It's also challenging to try to describe this album other than with the categories, the seven categories that I listed before. Um, we talk a lot about records here taking you on a journey, and from the gentle beginning of no questions asked to the cataclysm of the final track, Casper. This is like 70 minutes of an undulating, ongoing, shifting morass, maybe that's not the right word, of just a kaleidoscope of styles, moods, timbres. It's it's almost too overwhelming to take it in, but yet because there's a very common thread through the whole thing, it's cohesive and it's deeply, deeply rewarding. I was shocked how much I really, really like this record, and John is my witness for how I talked about it. In fact, when we listened to it in the car, I said, dude, we just have to stop listening to music for about an hour because I just need to let this kind of settle. And I'm glad that we did. And I'm glad I've listened to it. I'm glad I've still been listening to it. Um, as with the previous episode, I'm going to quote some other sources who I think are more able to describe what this music is better than I. Um, from albumoftheyear.com, they say that this record is rife with squawking pianos sounding half beaten to death, rustic strings creaking in the wind, and intimate guitars plucking away like so many swirling waves. This project sends you on a wooden raft to traverse the vast waters of the world. So that's that. Um, and then Rough Trade describes this album as a modern apocalyptic folklore about a man who sails into the ocean alone in pursuit of freedom and cosmic understanding, subconsciously motivated by his own self destruction. Again, yes, 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 yes. Um, it's it's just really hard to kind of describe this record succinctly. Those seven categories, yes, all of those fit all the way across this album in various different forms. I mean, if you're kind of, not too enamored with what's happening in a track, wait 3 minutes. And there's going to be some kind of, you know, left turn, but a logical left turn that is actually leading the listener somewhere on this, varietal ocean of musical styles and timbres. For I went into a Rasputin's in San Jose, actually asking if they had this on CD, and they said no, they don't. But if we did, we'd have it in the rock section. And I went, "Oi!" So this is for someone who kind of came to prominence via the hip hop rap world of YouTube. That's where this Benjamin Lasky kind of got his start. He's
Mhm.
kind of morphed into this Brian Wilson type of guy in terms of just really leading hard with musical variety and melody and harmony and um, unexpected ways of sort of blending all these things together. The album Vanisher Horizon Scraper is what it's called. This is a solid 9 out of 10 for me. It's the most surprising record that I've listened to in 2025, and it's absolutely one of my favorites. I highly recommend. I mean, if Taylor Swift is where you go musically, this is not for you. But
I knew
for the
you were
rest of
going to
the
mention
discerning
Taylor
listeners
Swift.
out there, I highly recommend the Quedeca record. Help me out, son.
Well, first off, I just have to make clear how pleasantly surprised I was at how much you loved this album because I thought there would be elements of it you could enjoy, and I had no idea you were going to fall head over heels with it. So I don't know. I feel like every time a young music fan convince an older person to listen to Quadeca, an angel gets its wings or something. So I'm chuffed. I'm thrilled. Um, and I would like to bring up a figure with a certain amount of controversy on this channel. Mr. Jordy Greep of the band Black Midi, a personal favorite of Armando's. Um,
Something's caught my
Any
throat.
response to that before I continue, Armando?
Just get rid of the bile at the back of my throat right now.
Sure.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. I recently
Go ahead.
saw an interview with Ben Quadeca, where he talked about the making of this record and the influences. And when he was asked about the influences behind this record, he started naming all of these like Brazilian folk and rock and like bossa nova artists. Like he started listing off like João Gilberto, Milton Nascimento, like all of these Luis Bonfa, like all of these different guys who apparently one
hear
of
it.
those songs, one of those artists, excuse me, is sampled in the opening track for Vanisher, which I didn't even realize. It's tucked in there somewhere. And it made me think about how in his interviews for making the new sound, his solo album, Jordy Griep listed all of those same artists. Like all of those like Brazilian folk and rock guys, like specifically the work from the 70s. And I thought it was surprising to me, but at the same time I can hear those influences just expressing themselves in completely different ways, in like completely different styles of music. And it's encouraged me to like want to dig more into like Brazilian music from that time, because it's inspiring such creative and out there stuff now that I'm just falling head over heels with. But yeah, I mean, this album is, I think it's a real achievement for this guy, Quadeca. Starting from where he started, just making little like YouTube videos about like, here's how many different styles of rap and how many impersonations of famous rappers I can fit into a 5-minute video. And then all of a sudden he's making these really conceptual, genre blending concept records. And, you know, caught my attention and made me take him seriously as an artist in a whole new way. His album, I Didn't Mean to Haunt You, which came out in 2022, was like the real wake up call of like, oh man, this guy's a serious artist. And ever since then, he's just been on an incredibly impressive run. I can't think of any other musician who is blending this wide an array of influences together this cohesively on one album.
Yeah, agreed.
It's super, super impressive. I mean, even, you know, it's one thing when an album has drastically different styles and moods from song to song. That can be very engaging and, you know, keep me invested in a record. But you don't even have to wait for the end of a song for, you know, the style and the mood of it to completely transform. I mean, you have experimental hip hop songs that turn into house songs. You have a waltz that turns into like this weird jazzy alt pop extravaganza. You have like a shoegaze song that turns into a rap song and then followed up by like a 8-minute long piano ballad, which like genuinely moves me every time it comes up on the record. I'm not usually prepared for how hard some of the songwriting hits on this record as well. It's so well thought out. It's so cohesive. I've gotten more and more out of the concept and out of the overall scope of the record as I've come back to it. I think it's definitely his best album so far. And again, just one of the most impressive achievements of blending a really unique array of styles and influences into something really special and something that feels very personal to him. It feels like every style of music that he pulled from to blend together into this album, he did because he has a real deep love and appreciation of that music. And it's infectious, man. I mean, I just was talking about how I need to get into more Brazilian music because he said it influenced this album. So fantastic record. I think even if you are not someone who listens to any hip hop music or listens to any number of styles that go into this album, you could be very pleasantly surprised. And just look at My Dad as Exhibit A. So that's my piece.
Okay. All right.
Highly recommended, Armando.
Okay.
I think it'll take you on a journey. B, you'll be pleasantly surprised at how cohesive everything is, even with the variety that's in it. And C, I mean, come on, you got to trust these faces here. Come on, we're not going to steer you wrong. Black Midi.
The last time I was told to trust somebody, I ended up living in Edmonton for the last 16 years. So I'm not even going to go there. All right.
Okay.
Okay. And I knew you were going to put Taylor Swift in there somewhere. I knew it. I
Just
knew
as
it.
a point of comparison, that's all. That's all.
A competitor product, if you will.
Okay.
Exactly.
All
On
right.
the one end, you have Quedeca. On the other, you have Taylor.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Moving on. Next album on your list.
Moving on, we are beginning to go down the bell curve now, back towards the more accessible.
Okay.
But this is again not it's not difficult listening hour, but it's not easy pop radio either. This is the album that we're going to discuss that is the most recent. In fact, this just came out a couple of weeks ago. We're recording this on the 20th of October. I think this album dropped on the 10th. And this is the new release from Hannah Francis called Nestled in Tangles. Um, Continuing with the tradition, it's progressive folk, singer-songwriter, folk rock, chamber folk, Americana, all in one beautiful, beautiful record. This is an easy 9 out of 10 for me, and it kind of bumps with the Quadeca record in terms of what's captured my heart most heartily. Um, the and I kind of half expected this too. Um, John Michael turned me on to Hannah's previous album called Keeper of the Shepherd last year, and the title track of that record has become one of my all-time favorite songs. Full stop. I absolutely love that. Um, this record, Nestled in Tangles, kind of takes where things started with Keeper of the Shepherd and kicks it up a notch. In fact, it's so much of a notch, I'm going to have to throw some math on us to kind of properly describe what this record does. So,
Mhm.
start with Bobby Gentry, Ode to Billy Joe. To that, you want to add the sum of Joanna Newsom and Anais Mitchell, who, again, more indie alt rock
Mhm.
women folk in there. And then you want to take the sum of those two lines and you want to multiply it by the sum of Radiohead and Charles Mingus. If you do that math, you get this album. It is deeply rooted in a singer-songwriter, folkish kind of tradition. But you start throwing names like Radiohead and Charles Mingus in there, and this thing is quickly spiraling off into places where angels fear to tread. I mean, it's not dissonant, it's not like unlistenable or aggressive or anything like that. It's just different. And in its difference, it's just absolutely wonderful. I mean, just based on the previous record, I would say that Hannah Francis is the bane of any marketing department to try to come up with some like pithy and compact way to describe her as a musician. But this kind of takes it and just spins it off to a whole other level. Um, Again, quoting those who are maybe better with words than I, um, Taste magazine, which I love as a resource, um, says that Francis never reaches for catchiness, only that which soothes the bedlam that's written within her. Um, and this album is dealing, I think, primarily with the passing of her father in an unexpected manner. And there's that sense of kind of ennui and struggle behind it, but it's not like a depressing record. It's just challenging and sort of dealing with, the lyrical heft that's going on. Um, Treble magazine says, um, a nest of tangles is an apt way to describe the rich and complex music that Hannah Francis makes. There are endless details to get lost in, innumerable layers and threads to pull and follow. To call her elaborately arranged folk progressive still somehow undersells its depth. New elements rise to the surface with each listen, but there's nothing coldly technical about its construction. And again, to that, I'm like, bravo, that is a perfect way to describe this album. Um, I think there's about 10 songs in all. Um, Life's Work is one of them that really, really stands out to me.
There's nine
There's a
tracks in
lyric,
total. 9 tracks in total.
9 tracks, okay. Um, there's a line in Life's Work that is the refrain says, learning to trust in spite of it is life's work. It's a very simple line, but oh, it hits so hard. The
Mhm.
emotional heft of it is just immense. Falling From and Further is the subsequent tune, and it again has this line about, more than this, I wish for time back. I mean, there's a deep, deep longing that's in this album that's very poetically expressed. Beholden to, Surviving You, The Space Between. It's the whole album is an album of highlights. And again, if you go back to that math equation that I talked about, to me, that's the only way I can accurately try to put this in a framework that people might be able to understand of what it's like musically to sit with this album. And I have been sitting with this album probably every day since I first heard it. It's just a deeply, deeply, you know, rewarding record. Um, Progressive folk, yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely the right way to describe that.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, to jump in here, I really want to highlight Life's Work as well. I think in the same way that the title track of her last album, Keeper of the Shepherd, really encapsulates everything that's great about that record, I think Life's Work encapsulates everything that's great about this new album as well. Um, and I think, Dad, you already said it. Just those very, very simple lyrics just carry so much deep meaning. I think Hannah Francis is a very like emotionally courageous artist in the way she writes songs, and
Hmm.
very, very mature. Um, I think she has a way of exploring these very, very deep, very introspective kind of areas of her life and her emotional world, but working them into songs that I get stuck in my head. Like I've had Life's Work stuck in my head since I first heard it.
Yeah.
With the little horn lines and the vocal melodies and just the really beautiful production on that track. It just doesn't leave. And I feel that way about a lot of the songs on this record. I really love Steady in the Hand as well, as one that you didn't mention, Dad. It's
Mhm.
beautiful, beautiful little guitar ballad. Um, I think what's been harder for me to parse about this record is that back half with like the longer and kind of more abstract and involved songs, which to have like more beautiful production, more beautiful songwriting. But I just think haven't been as immediate for me. And I think I need probably more time and more listening to the record to really sense how it all fits together and all reinforces
Hmm.
each other. Um, but I mean, she's an artist who's not afraid to do things like that. I really, really loved the opening and the closing tracks of this record that really work in like some really out there, very progressive folk. I would say, just very, very abstract instrumentation and like spoken word stuff, and some really interesting sound design and like explorative kind of production. Like I absolutely love that stuff. So I think even though this is an album where not all of it immediately clicks with me, I trust her as an artist so much that I want to learn to love those parts of the album. And I think, you know, with this record and her last record as well, she's definitely earned that trust. So anyone who likes folk music, singer-songwriter music, or anything vaguely ritzy, or is just looking for a very kind of, you know, personal, mature style of songwriting, I think you're going to love this album. So very, very highly recommend.
Okay. All right. I will check it out. I will check it out.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Next up on the list, Jim.
Number 7. Getting into the more accessible parts of the list. This is an album I think that came out in April or May. It's the 2025 release by Bon Iver, called Sable Fable.
I'm excited about this one.
Okay. Uh, so let's get this out of the way. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. I like this record, you know, quite a bit. It's categorically speaking, art pop, pop soul, sophistopop, folktronica. Didn't know that was a word, but these are the times we live in. And indie
Okay.
folk of how this is all classified. And it's really kind of a tale of two albums, but again, they go very, very well together. You got your chocolate, you got your peanut butter. It all goes very well together. Side A is this folksy side that's informed by modern techniques, and the second side, if you will, is the modern pop side, but yet it's really informed by a folk sensibility. It's this completely unique amalgam of like down tempo indie folk and modern pop and soul. Um, so for people who have like their ears attuned to the hip and happen and most listened to songs on Spotify, you know, this will not be an anathema. This kind of goes right along very well with it. I've always been sort of challenged to sort of find an entry point into Bon Iver's previous albums, but this one's the exception. Um, like the other albums, the songwriting and arrangements are a bit non-traditional, you know, in that the melody and the arrangements don't go where you naturally think they're going to go. But that's like a minor challenge in listening. It's like once you kind of accept that premise, the ride that this record takes you on, it just gets more and more enjoyable. Um, for me, the top songs on here are "Spy Side" and "Everything Is Peaceful Love." Um, but yeah, this is a really, really enjoyable record, and it makes me want to go back and listen to the rest of Bon Iver's catalog a bit more. I think the previous four albums, you know, my understanding is that they're very seasonally thematic. There's one that's very winter-like, one's summer, fall, etc. This breaks that tradition and just gets to something that I think is um, a lot more accessible, um, than the previous ones, at least for me. And it's, you know, more successful to my ears because of that. But I baton handed to John. Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So my experience with Bon Iver, I have been aware of his music for a very long time. Um, Kind of similar to Alex G. He's someone who got a lot of attention in indie music around like, you know, the very early 2010s, with this very kind of homespun singer songwriter music, very emotionally heavy and confessional kind of songs. Um, and a lot of the context I have for this new album comes from a really great interview he did with these guys on from the New York Times on their like podcast they post on YouTube called Popcast. They did like a really in-depth conversation with him about um, how his like emotional state and how he approaches making music has changed throughout his career. And he really he talked about this album being like almost asking his fans for permission to be happy, to make happy music.
Hmm.
And I mentioned in the first part of this conversation that this was a theme we were going to kind of return to, because with Alex G's latest record, there were fans of his that responded to the new album by saying, "This is too happy. I miss the depressing Alex G songs that I remember from when I was 15 and listening to his stuff on Bandcamp or whatever." And then the rest of his fans are like, "Dude, why are you not happy that he's happy?" And there's very kind of a similar dynamic happening here with Justin Vernon's music that I think he is really hyper aware of. Like he tells these really kind of harrowing stories about like performing songs from his like 22 a Million album and just like breaking down crying on stage and then feeling like this weird feedback loop with the audience, like they were expecting him to kind of emotionally break down and kind of feeding off it, like, yeah, we get this drama or whatever. And he was like, this is wrong, this is weird, this is not good for me. And the release of this album began with the release of an EP towards the end of 2024. That was the Sable side of this Sable Fable album. And that EP is kind of a back to basics for him. Like a lot of it is extremely low key. Speyside, especially, which is another personal favorite of mine, along with you, Dad, is just like him and a guitar for 90% of the song, and it's just super raw, super confessional. And a lot of the songs on that EP are super heavy, and we are emotionally way down here and just kind of in the depths of what's going wrong in his kind of internal world. And then the album comes out and you get this whole second side where it's like the sun breaks through the clouds and all of a sudden we're having a good time. Everything is peaceful love. It's romantic and happy, and it's incredible. I think seeing the two sides of the record, going from some really, really intense, emotionally heavy stuff on that first kind of side of the EP to getting to that second side where you have these pop songs, these like really romantic songs too. I mean, there's a song in a part of I'll Be There. He has a line that's like, keep that sad shit off the phone, get your fine ass on the road, which is something I never thought I would hear Justin Vernon of Bon Iver sing on one of his songs. Like there's just this freedom and happiness in that second side of the record that I think is great, not because it just completely leaves behind the context of his earlier music, but because it shows how he's matured, like how his relationship with making music and his relationship with his audience has changed. And it's something that, ever since it dropped earlier on this year, I haven't been able to stop listening to it. It's just got like a little bit of everything I want from a record right now. And I think it's really, really impressive. It's really personal, and it can go deep in the songwriting and in the emotional kind of through line of the record, but it has this way of just lifting you up out of that dark place that I can't stop going back to. I think it's super, super impressive, super mature, super fun. It's a personal favorite of mine, and it's one of the records I've listened to most this year. So yeah, very, very highly recommend, even if you haven't enjoyed Bon Iver albums before. I think it's pretty undeniable.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have not listened to their music before, so I will check it out.
It's a fun rabbit hole to go down.
Okay. All right.
And
All
not
right.
in a Black MIDI kind of way, but in
Oh,
a
Yeah, I'm
Bon
thank
sensing
you.
Iver kind of
hesitance
way.
there.
Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, thank you so much.
Happy to
All right.
help. Happy to help.
Okay. All right. The next album on the list,
The
Jermaine.
next album and our last album that we're going to discuss in our two-part marathon here for now hearing these indie alt everything slices of 2025. This is probably the most normal album of all the batch that we've talked about. And this is the latest album from Jason Isbell, Foxes in the Snow. I think this came out in the spring or early summer of 2025.
It
Um,
was super early on. I think it was like February or late January.
oh, really? Okay,
Yep.
so that's how late I am to the party. Um, Again, singer-songwriter, Americana, contemporary folk. That's only three genres. We've had albums here that we talked about that go seven. So this is actually fairly tight as far as where you might find this album. Um, this um, this is the simplest album from what we've talked about, and it's simple in that it's one guy, a guitar, and his voice. That's it. No fancy production tricks, no flute pads or synth orchestrations. It's just as if you're sitting around a campfire and this guy's got this beautiful multi-thousand-dollar Martin guitar and he's just finger picking these beautiful melodies. And it's rich. This is a really rich record, and every time I listen to these songs, they just keep delivering the goods. I was trying to sort of figure out like a unifying theme throughout these records, throughout this record, and I'll call this one a placid fury. It's very peaceful, but there's a lot of underlying angst that you can hear in like what he's talking about or how he's kind of dealing with and processing things. Um, Broken relationships in a broken world is kind of another way of talking about this, and um, there's a lot of humor in it. There's, like I said, there's also a lot of anger. One of the humorous parts I will be very explicit about this one, is that there's a verse in a song called Open and Close, which was a genuine laugh out loud moment. And as we were pulling into Lancaster, Pennsylvania, we had to listen to this part about three or four times just because I couldn't get over how perfect it is. So the lyrics on the second verse say, I'm mad at the sidewalk, I'm mad at the rain, I'm mad at the band who played Kid Charlemagne in a bar in the village, and the solo effed all to hell, and you could tell. I just, love that Jason Isbell went deep Steely Dan, and that that of course meets me. There's my Asia shirt to prove what a nerd I am as
Of
far as that
course.
goes.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah, this Jason Isbell record is just absolutely delightful. Like I said, it's like someone sitting at the campfire in your living room, and you don't mind that if he's burning something in your living room, because what he's singing and playing is just so beautifully done. It's a very intimate record. It's a very funny record. It's a very sardonic record. But to me, this would be the third 9 out of 10 album of the group that we've talked about. I
Mhm.
just think this is just so well done that it makes me want to go back in his catalog, whether it's with the 400 unit or whether it's with Drive By Truckers, and just to really sort of get more into what makes this guy such a compelling songwriter. I really enjoy this record, and it's like an unconditional recommendation for any music fan. It's just so amazingly well done.
Okay. Just a quick question.
Yes.
In that lyric, did he use the actual word or did you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He says that. He says that quite frequently on this record.
I would pay to hear you say that word
I'm
just
sure you would.
once. But okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
Dad, you got to open up
Okay.
a Fiverr account or something so Armando
on.
can tip you to say it.
Come on. Come on. Just once. Just
You can have a
once.
private recording just in the vault.
I mean, I'd be sitting there smoking a cigarette, enjoying it after the fact. I'm telling you right now. But
You get
okay.
me to sing it, and I will. I'm mad
Okay.
at the sidewalk. I'm mad at the rain.
Okay.
I'll just stop there.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
No, I
yeah,
know.
the rest is behind a paywall.
Okay. Okay.
Go to my OnlyFans page, and then I'll get really blue.
Oh, now he's going into OnlyFans now. Okay, never
I didn't
mind.
need to hear that, Dad. I didn't need to hear that.
Won't need to go there.
Mind bleach, ear bleach,
Yeah.
all kinds of
Oh, yeah,
bleach.
yeah.
Okay, never mind. Okay,
Help us, John Michael. Save
John,
us.
your opinion on this?
Yeah,
Save your father. He needs to be saved.
See, the red is coming. The blushing is
back to
coming.
Oh,
JC
yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the album, please, please.
Absolutely. I'll do my best.
Oh, please.
If I had to pick one favorite record of the year right now, I think this would be it. Which
Wow.
is strange given the crop of records that I've brought forward for us to talk about. Because there's so much wild stuff in the Quadeca album, in the Caroline album, in the Bon Iver album, even. Like, there's all kinds of styles and genres blending together. But I think a real important thing to me, and what has become more and more important, just in how I appreciate music, is just songwriting. Like, just don't put anything in the way of how good the song is, if the song really is that good. And this album, it's just, the songs are just naked right there in your face. Like, there's nothing in the way of just the guitar and his voice. And he backs it up. Like, he is good enough of a songwriter to really make this a compelling record. Like, I've had listens to this album where, like, everything's just really emotionally hitting me very, very heavily. They're like, I think, Dad, what you mentioned earlier about this record having a very kind of, there's like a rage underneath the surface of this album, that I think is just a very relatable thing of just like being a grown ass man and trying to come to terms with anger you're feeling and how to express that. There are lyrics on the song Gravel Weed I love, especially, where he's talking about how I wish I could drink a fifth of cheap whiskey and put my like fist through a wall, but that's like never really been who I am. I just saw that in a movie and thought that's who I was supposed to be, or something like that. There's all these like really, really personal observations, and just very, the lyrics don't leave anything to the imagination. He's very, very upfront with what he's feeling, naked, and why he's feeling it, and very explicit. If he's angry, he's going to let you know he's angry. And there's just something about this record, even compared to his past stuff, which I also really enjoy, like his solo record Southeastern, from like early on in the 2010s. It's a fantastic album. I love a lot of the stuff he's done with the 400 unit, but there's something about this record that just met me personally in exactly the right way, where I can't stop listening to it. And it's become a really, really personally meaningful and deep record for me. So I can't say enough nice things about it. As far as highlights go, I could literally name any track on, off of the 11 on this album and explain deeply why I love it. There's just so much to appreciate. I think if you, I don't think you have to be a country music fan necessarily to appreciate this record. I think it's a folk record as much as it is a country record. I think if you just appreciate good lyricism, good melody, some good old-fashioned finger picking on an acoustic guitar, you're going to find something to love here. And, who knows? It could connect with you very, very deeply and personally, like it has for me, and like it has to some extent with my dad as well. So can't recommend it enough. Again, if I had to pick a favorite album from the year right now, this would probably be it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've said this before many times on this channel. Um, Music hits you when it's supposed to hit you, when when it's supposed to grab you. Sometimes it will, sometimes it may never. But, if you don't take a chance and listen to something new, how are you going to know if it's for you or not? So, the fact that you know, that you're this excited about this album makes me want to listen to it. So, which I will. Um,
Awesome.
yeah. I've also always said, I say a lot of shit on this channel, but
You do.
uh,
Let's just be upfront about that.
yeah. I'm not the only one, Mr. Bricker.
True.
Um, I've always said that once you think you know all there is to know about music, you might as well just hang it up and go do something else and not listen to anything else, right? Because music for me has always been about you know, learning new things and different things and just getting excited about something. I mean, I mentioned before when I first listened to Hajira from Joni Mitchell, I was just like, okay, this is for me. I can get into this. I can sink my teeth into this and get into it. So I understand. So I understand what you're saying. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before I give my final message, my closing remarks, Jim, were you going to put a finger up or were you going to say something?
I guess I just wanted to say that it's just to kind of think back on what you were saying and just reflect that there's such a wide breadth of music that's out there and available today that, we
Mm,
have such easy access to that it's very easy to get overwhelmed with just the volume of stuff and trying to wade through and just try to, keep your ear sort of peeled to, okay, if I like this, then I might like this. What are my trusted sources and recommending music and whatnot? It's it was an incredibly rewarding experience to kind of go through these 8 albums, and we listened to a couple of others too. We listened to the new Robert Plant record, which you've covered on the channel before, and we both really liked that. We
really
started to
cool.
listen to the new Nels Klein record, and we're like, not in the mood for that. It was a little more like Hendrix on speed or something. It was just like, wow, not sort of ready for that.
It's
Mhm.
not road
Um,
trip music.
it was not the road trip experience music that we
No,
wanted,
no,
not the way you wanted to glide into Pennsylvania through New York.
no.
But yeah, I'm glad that we had the opportunity to kind of talk about this stuff. Thanks, Armando, for being open to give us the
Oh,
floor to talk about this for a couple of hours. And
no, no need to
yeah, I
thank
hope
me.
folks check this out.
No need to thank me. Just send money. You know,
All
um,
right.
I take tens and twenties, but
American, right?
non-denominational. Right. We'll go with that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Fine. I don't differentiate. It's okay. So, ladies
Okay.
and gentlemen, these albums that Jim and John have spoken about, you can check them out on YouTube. Don't take our word for it. Please check these albums out before you buy them. However you get your music, whether it be Discogs, Amazon, your local music store. I mean, and support your local independent music store. That's first and foremost. But again, I've always said, again, I say a lot of shit on this channel, but I've said before, we are not music experts. We are just bringing you music that we like, and in this case, Jim and John like, and we just wanted to bring it to your attention, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find something new to discover and listen to and enjoy. But if you don't take a chance, nothing happens, right? So again, I want to thank Jim and John Bricker for joining me on this interesting two-part episode of Now Hear This. The word is alternative. Please click like and subscribe, and do hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content we've got coming up. And speaking of new content, Jim is coming back on the channel. He's coming back, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we are going to be recording 3 more episodes with Ken Cheshire, and
It's
those
true.
episodes are, Jim, do you want to take that, or shall I?
I believe we're going to do a little conversation around Billy Joel's The Stranger. I
Yes.
believe we're going to have a little discussion on top 10 Rolling Stones songs.
Yes.
And I believe we're going to open up the vaults here and have quite a lengthy discussion on the wonders of the Jellyfish discography.
Yes. You hit the nail on the head. That's what we're doing. And,
See?
Hell
It's
yeah.
all up here. Hell, yeah, thank
yeah.
you.
Yes. Yeah, so please stay tuned for those 3 episodes. In particular, the Jellyfish episode, which is going to be quite good. And yeah, please, and again, I'll say it again, click like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell again to keep yourselves on top of any new content we've got coming up. And we will see you soon again on the Music Den. Please look after yourselves and one another. Bye for now.